Israel's prime minister has defended the reform, claiming the country's Supreme Court will remain independent.
We took a necessary democratic move which aims to restore the balance between the branches of government as it was for 50 years. We passed the correction to the reasonableness bill so that the elected government can carry out policy based on the vote of the majority of people in the country. Even disagreement with this measured change does not justify the disruption of and causing suffering to millions of citizens who cannot get to work or to hospitals or to the airport.
To get more on this, let's cross live now to Simcha Rothman, Knesset and Religious Zionist Party member who supported the reform bill. Welcome, sir. Now, you promoted this reform, one of the people who did, which is the source of much condemnation and protest. Why did you support it?
I don't think that this reform is the source of the condemnation and protest. I think first, this reform introduced checks and balances to the unchecked and unbalanced system in Israel. It's not disrupting checks and balances or democracy. I think the most of the protests and most of the people that are connected to the protesting the existence of the government, they do not protest this action or that action, this legislation or that legislation. The leaders of the protest say it openly, this government is illegitimate. They do not accept the outcome of the elections. And that's not something that a democratic country can accept.
Well, on that note, then, we also know that there are some in the Israeli army protesting against the reforms. Is the coalition concerned that there may be security threats to the country because of this situation?
I think that the security of the state of Israel relies on the vast majority of the people who are serving in the army and the reserve forces. I think that talking about not going to the army or not joining the reserve forces, this talk is a threat on security of the state of Israel, but I don't think it poses a real security threat. I think that the most of the letters and the numbers that the PR department of the protest were sending around, whenever the numbers were checked, it was discovered that it's mostly a PR stunt. Many people who signed those petitions that they will not come and will not fly in the Air Force or something like that are not in active duty for more than a decade. It's a PR stunt. It's hurting the image of the state of Israel. It's hurting the security of the state of Israel just talking about it. But I don't think it poses a real threat to the security of the state of Israel.
Well, some in Israel are also saying that the law was passed to favor Prime Minister Netanyahu because of the corruption accusations against him. What do you say to that, and who do you think the law favors?
I think the law has nothing to do with the criminal allegations against Prime Minister Netanyahu. It deals with issues of democracy. It deals with issues when a minister is trying to make a policy decision based on his own better judgment, and the court just makes the decision instead of him. Again, it does not exist in any other country in the world that I know of, that the court can just decide on appointments based on its own agenda against the better judgment of the elected officials. And a self-appointed court in Israel creates self-appointed high-ranking officials that basically are appointed by the court instead of by the elected officials or by the public. A major decision, if we want to fight BDS in Israel, we cannot do it because the court enforces its own views on the system in Israel. Many examples of situations when the court interfered in government action based on the politics of the judges instead of based on law or any other legal rule. And that's not democratic. That's against separation of powers. That needs to be changed. But it's an inner issue within Israel, was taken out of proportion by an opposition that decided that this government is illegitimate. and are fighting to take down the government, not to try to protest this legislation.
Simcha Rothman, Knesset member of the Religious Zionist Party. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.